Hi, this is Angela, and this week I wanted to share on the dance and how it relates to the holographic universe. You may be old enough to remember a book called The Holographic Universe. I never made it through the book, but if you do remember it, put a note in the comments what you took away from the book, because it was a late 90s book, The Holographic Universe, and it was what we were told to read as a part of energetic healing course that we did at Nature Care College in Australia. And for me, being a dancer, I couldn't finish the book because it didn't capture the holographic universe as I had experienced it in the dance, and in particular, not just Sufi movement, but as I was dancing Sufi movement, we don't just dance with the physical body. We start to experience the connection of that inner channel of the core of the body and how it's connected to the rotation of spheres. Of course, the earth, because that axis of the center part of the body is connected to the axis of the gravitational pull in relationship to the center of this earth. So when you're doing the Sufi whirling or other Sufi movements, you can begin to experience the nature of movement in the universe. And the whirling dervishes are a representation of that. So you can look deeper into that. Today I wanted to look at more in particular, what is it that, for example, my experience in the dance with the Sufi movement, and not just Sufi movement, of connecting to other planetary intelligence and experience of life that allowed me to look at myself differently. I wasn't just this body, I wasn't just this personality, because right now miracles are happening in the world, but we don't see them. And this has been brought to my attention specifically because I'm sharing some events that allow people to experience miracles. And I've also had a brush with death and not died, which to me is a miracle that I'm still here. But I notice in my life that people don't acknowledge that. They can't see the miracle every day. And it's been in a really big, what has it been? Like a big fascination for me of what stops us collectively seeing miracles. What stops us feeling this miracle of our body? I've been teaching about the body for 25 plus years. And why? Because when I started to dance, I discovered miracles of this body through the body-mind centering work I did with Annetta Luce in Sydney. She allowed us to go deep inside the body and discover the universe within the body. And right now I'm working on understanding the science behind Dr. Michael Levin's work, which is looking at the intelligence of a cell. So often we have studied cells from the science perspective as one unit, but he says no, they actually work with collective intelligence. And this is what I used to do in the dance. I would feel into the cellular level of the body or a different organ of the body, or I would experience in the Sufi movement that connection of my inner channel connecting to the movement of other planets or other galaxies in the universe, or just the rotation of spheres in the universe. And I would understand that my sense of self was interconnected with every aspect of consciousness in the universe. And this is what Dr. Michael Levin's work is mirroring. He's not saying the same thing, but his understanding of the cellular intelligence is that it's not a single self or cell intelligence. It's a collective intelligence. And he goes as far as to say that none of us and nothing in existence has singular intelligence, because we are all made of parts. So this brought me to really look at then, why do we deny miracles in our life? Why do we not look at the life or the breathing of the body? Why do we just cut off ourselves from this miracle of the body, or the miracle of life, or the miracle of having a child be born. Some of Dr. Michael Levin's work is also looking at embryogenesis. How the embryo forms is magic, yet we don't look at that in science or in everyday life. We don't look at it as magic. We take it into other ways of looking at the self, which destroy the magic. So I wanted to look at that concept of how our way of looking at the self is often framed in a very negative framework, and to offer you today some resources to look at how do you look at your light or your miracle of your life. How do you connect to that sense of something being born within you that is beyond just this physical moment, that expands you out into the multidimensional sense of yourself? Because this is what's happening on our planet anyway. The news will put a different perception to you about what is the nature of human consciousness. But at this time, people are receiving miracles. People are, like Dr. Michael Levin, having different ways of looking at cellular life, being able to, through his work, create new ways of regenerating tissue to solve all sorts of problems that we might face as a species or as individuals. What is it in our species that stops us from looking or feeling our light? I've been doing dance as a way to connect to my light since, I don't know, very early on in life. And because of that early connection, I sought and I looked for ways to embody and breathe and be that light. And for me, and I shared this with Sylvia from Colourful Foresight the other day when I watched her video, which talks about, do you see yourself? Do you see the divine in you? Do you see the light in you? Or do you see the divine? And to me, this brought up a big memory about how when I was young, I used to dance and I used to talk to the divine. I didn't know who they were. I just spoke to the divine naturally and innocently, no agenda. I made a relationship and I had a very strong familial feeling, like being supported by that. Then as I got older, because of lots of things in life and also education and concepts of judging myself, I didn't like myself, and I internalized that. I then started to deny that all of the things that I grew up dancing with and feeling naturally, I denied that they were beautiful and also worthy of my intelligence. So then subsequently, after 21, I spent the rest of my life reconnecting, re-embodying, rediscovering, reigniting that connection. And that's what we can do now. When we look at the holographic universe, what that is based on is ideas around the flower of life, and that is embodied in every single creation of our nature, of our universe. So even the embryo, when it starts to replicate, starts to form a spherical shape and things start to blossom out like the flower of life. Even our shapes of our bodies are designed in certain measurements based on that flower of life. It's so innate to all creation, but we don't look at it as a beautiful object. We get stuck in our perceptions in other ways, in negative ways. And even embedded in the holographic universe is that anytime you see negative things, they're also a way to experience the light. But somehow at this time, we're resisting just experiencing joy, just experiencing light. We get fixated with the darkness and we think that might be the way to get to the light, which I think a lot of modern self-development work has been based on, like facing your shadow and going into the shadow. That's all great work, but at some point when we begin to embody our light without having to go and looking at the shadow, there's actually a very immense resource available to us. That's where I got inspired by Dr. Michael Levin's work, because he's a scientist doing it. He's looking at an embryo, a frog embryo cell, and he's taking that cell and seeing what potential for life is there. And he's amazed by the process in the process of doing it. It's similar to me when I dance. I'm experiencing in that dance this amazing moment, which has so many features to it, but it just allows me to experience it, not everything in it all at the same time, but perhaps a piece that I can feel is related to everything. And then because of that relationship, I can dance and let the movement take me into the next space. Dr. Michael Levin's work is also about, which is really blowing my mind still, and I'm still trying to absorb it. Before we develop in utero, in embryo, in the embryo itself, before it develops, there is an electrical pattern that can be measured by voltage, which is his work, which actually shows the end result of the fetus's face, or of the person's face, or of the frog's face if they're doing frog embryos. So the face that is going to be formed is already there, represented in an electric pattern, a pattern of voltage transference, which in esoteric and spiritual work, we've always called the blueprint, or when we work with the energy body, we call it the aura, or the energy form. When we're working with dance, we look at the movement as an energy form. And he, Dr. Michael Levin, is saying that our species is also still, we were predominantly in our ancestry biological forms that developed through feeling in space. So we grew our form in the cell by knowing that, feeling the space, the potentiality of the cell to grow into that space. So he's saying things that, as I listen to him, I feel a lot of my dance practice being like touched for the first time by a science and scientific pathway that's researching collective consciousness, and how in each cell there's actually a relationship to the whole. And he's actually measuring that. And it's blowing my brain, because here is someone who's in a laboratory putting physical data and measurements to something that I've been trying to explain since I started dancing, where I don't necessarily know what I'm going to do in the movement, but I feel it into the space. In a similar way, embodying our light, we don't have to do it in relationship to darkness. It could be the unknown, and space can feel like the unknown, or not knowing the future of humanity and where we're going can be the unknown, the new unknown, because we haven't become this technologically evolved species in this way before. So it is the unknown. And embodying our light doesn't have to be as a way to say, I'm not going to focus on the darkness. It can be in relationship to this new discovery of the multidimensional self, which is what I've been experiencing in the dance and why I do it. Why am I obsessed? Because I've discovered things that have allowed me to feel my body and to feel myself in a way that's not given to me. It's discovered, and it's unfolding, and it's constantly giving me more information, and it's constantly in relationship to the world. So it's always growing, and it's always a process, and it's always evolving, and it's always got something new for me. And this is where I think our species needs to focus more on, that the newness of where we are has this potentiality that's extraordinary. And we tend to, at this time, focus on our lack. And this is what I've been finding when I've shared the miracle events that are coming to Australia. They're already in the US. They've been giving people miracles, but people who've gone to the events also don't see that they've received the miracle. Or people look at it and go, yeah, but I've got this other thing I can be doing, which is great that they have something else, but they're really not really feeling the power of this miracle coming into their life because there's some perception that they're stuck in or they're used to, it's comfortable, and they prefer to be in that space. So that's fine, they can be in that space. What I'm suggesting today is that if we want to receive miracles, if we want to have a relationship to our potentiality as a species and of yourself and the light within you and the potentiality in you, there is another way being given to us right now in the world that I don't feel has been really in this way before. We call it the golden age, the age of Aquarius. It's the age that has been predicted to come for many, many millennia. And in that age, it was to truly know that we could become a peaceful species that worked in harmony, not just with each other, but with the planet itself, and that everything was abundant and flowing for us. It was also a time where we began to not just focus on our individual self, but the collective species and its potential. And that's an exciting thing. That's an amazing gift. It's definitely a gift that when I dance, I feel all of the world dances in me. I describe it like that, that even though I dance in this period of time, 2023, ancestrally, and just as a part of the human species, there's all these other dance cultures in me. So that's why I'm a bit of a dance ethnologist. I go around to different parties and I dance to different music or different steps because I feel that step is within me and I just need to feel it to have it come through me. And the dance is channeled in a way because it's within my memory, it's in my ancestral memory, it's in the cells, and it's in the land that that dance came out of. So there's just some of the thoughts I have about how we can focus on allowing miracles by changing how we focus on the negative things that you see in your life. And you might have some other ideas about embodying this new way that I'm beginning to see about the collective sense that there is this potential in humanity now that we haven't had before. Have you had a sense of that potential that's yet to be embodied or expressed? Please let me know, send me a message. I'd like to hear about it. And also, did you get a chance to indulge in the holographic universe? What I took away from it was that I had to dance it first because I couldn't read the book. So thank you so much for joining, and I look forward to hearing from you. And I'm looking forward to you embodying the light and allowing miracles by just allowing yourself to be all that you came to be.